In Module 2, we will cover the neuroscience of stress. Stress is the single greatest enemy of health, and in particular, neurogenesis. We will understand what happens in the brain and body when we experience stress, and learn about how neurotoxic modern life's conveniences can be without a healthy lifestyle to counterbalance the ever-present influence of stress. In modern society, stress is an ever-present influence and often referenced when describing our experiences. So let's understand exactly what stress is. Stress is the term given to the physiological and neurochemical responses we experience when we perceive sensory input to be on a scale between mild worries and anxiety to overwhelming trauma, fear, anxiety, or threat. There are three key types of stress. Firstly, we have acute stress, once-off situations. This is the most common type of stress. It's our immediate reaction to a situation that triggers our fight or flight response. For example, a fight with a loved one, workplace pressure, a near traffic accident, or being scared by someone. Acute stress can lead to emotional distress, anger, irritability, or depression. Body tension, including headaches or back pain. Severe acute stress, such as being in a life-threatening situation or a victim of crime, can have lasting impacts. Next, we have episodic acute stress, which is where acute stress occurs more regularly. Episodic acute stress can lead to being irritable, tense, anxious, or easily frustrated. Excessive use of technology, gaming, and social media can also trigger this stress response. And next we have chronic stress. Unresolved, persistent acute stress, where the situations increase in frequency and duration. Examples include relationship dissatisfaction, ongoing conflict, or high-pressure work environments. Chronic stress can lead to significant physical and psychological health implications. As humans, we have a built-in threat detection system. Let's take a look at our response to stress. Stress activates our ancient neurobiological self-preservation and protection system. To understand this system, we need to take a look at the processes involved between the moments we perceive a potential threat and we respond. The name we give this system is the HPA axis, as it describes the parts of the brain involved in this process. When we detect a potential stress or threat, this information is initially processed by the thalamus, sending communication to the amygdala. The sense of smell is the one sense that bypasses the thalamus. Once the amygdala detects a potential threat, the HPA axis is activated. As previously mentioned, the HPA axis is activated when our amygdala detects a potential threat through one of our five senses. Our hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing factor. Our pituitary gland releases adrenocorticotropic hormone. And our adrenal gland releases adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. After our adrenal glands release adrenaline and cortisol into our system, these chemicals have a significant influence on how our body and brain functions when experiencing stress. Adrenaline commences the fight or flight response. Our digestion slows to refocus internal resources. Our heart rate increases. our blood flow is redirected to the brain and muscles. Our lungs expand, increasing oxygen flow. Our liver releases glucose resources for additional energy. And our cortex's left hemisphere is reduced in functioning, impacting on our ability to think clearly, communicate effectively, and access past memories and future insights. Cortisol is released more slowly than adrenaline, providing a temporary numbing of pain and ultimately switching off our fight or flight response, allowing our digestion, heart rate, lungs, liver, and left hemisphere functions to return to normal. This video will visually demonstrate the human response to stress. Our senses initially detect a potential threat, which is processed by our thalamus, activating our amygdala and commencing the HPA axis. Our adrenal glands then release adrenaline, which shifts our internal resources to focus on survival. Cortisol is then released, numbing pain and returning our system to normal functioning. This biological protection system produces chemicals helping us respond to perceived stress. When we exert enough energy, cortisol is depleted and levels return to normal. The dilemma we face is, in modern society, our stress response is overactivated and lacking the physical exertion required to drain the cortisol levels that are being produced. Over time, this can result in excess residual cortisol building up in our bodies, with neurobiologically toxic impacts. Cortisol is also produced during exercise, substance use, intimacy, and naturally when we wake. Repeated exposure to stress desensitizes our stress response system, and our brain subsequently processes repeated exposure to stress with less intensity. After chronic stress, we need to resensitize our brain to stress. Of note, cortisol levels can be measured by blood, saliva, urine, feces, and hair. Excess residual cortisol is neurotoxic, damages cells, and erodes our DNA. It compromises telomere maintenance and replication systems. We will learn more about telomeres later in this program. What is important to know is telomeres are a vital biomarker of our health. In our hippocampus, dendritic branches shrivel, less electrical signaling occurs, connections are poisoned, and the hippocampus physically shrinks in size, impacting on all of the functions of that vital organ. Our amygdala's connections strengthen with excess residual cortisol, and this threat detector becomes overactive and inaccurate. The amygdala's physical size can grow by up to 70%. We experience increases in storage of visceral fat, which can lead to health issues and is the hardest fat to burn off. We also experience increases in neural degeneration and degrading of brain tissue. Our ancient biological self-preservation system was necessary thousands of years ago, but we are no longer hunters and gatherers, and technological advancements are outpacing our evolution. In a modern society of convenience, fueled by technological advancements, our brains experience endless choices, excess stimulation, overwhelming sensory input, fractured attention, and pseudo connections, all leading to a constant triggering of our stress response system and subsequent flooding of cortisol levels. In modern society, our minds are flooded with sensory input, fragmenting our attention. We move our bodies less unless we're exercising in a purposeful way. Our social landscape has changed dramatically. Excess sustenance is readily available and delivered to our door. And we can purchase anything online, again, delivered to our door. We are always connected, yet rarely present. Communication has been impacted by technological advancements. With the invention of the telephone, we lost the face from our voice. With email and text, we then lost the voice from the message. By losing expression, tone, and warmth of the face and voice in our communication, our stress response system has been triggered more easily. While emojis have provided some context to emotion, they are easily misinterpreted. Technology and social media created a world more connected than ever. We feel safe when connected to others. Healthy communication involves synchronicity and reciprocity with a timely, natural flow of energy and interaction. Sending texts, direct messages, or posting on social media and waiting for a response leads to stress and anxiety due to lacking synchronicity. We can connect with anyone, anywhere, although these pseudo-connections lack the warmth of real-life interactions. Scrolling on social media triggers our stress response due to overwhelming flooding of sensory input. An addition to technology and pseudo-connection is using the phone while driving, despite the risks. Side effects of new technologies have gradually been presenting over recent years. New generations are growing up with faceless, voiceless connections, impacting on empathy and adaptive social skill development. Online bullying, it's so much easier to bully someone when our brain doesn't see the emotional impact on others and our mirror neurons are not activated in that process. We also experience addiction to stress, as cortisol has many addictive qualities. There is endless access to information. We have social media, online gaming, pornography online, and online dating. Online gaming has changed dramatically in recent decades. Games used to be simple puzzles, problem solving, action, or adventure with a focus on enjoyment. Modern games are on consoles, PCs, tablets, and phones. They're everywhere and we're always connected. Modern games are complex, sensory overloading, and time intensive. Game developers incorporate addictive features in games, loot boxes, random generated rewards, time delays, and daily and even hourly check-ins. Games trigger our biological stress response system, our HPA axis. Our ancient self-preservation system doesn't recognize we're just playing a game. Although without the subsequent energy expenditure, this neurotoxic cortisol floods our system. A subsequent program in development is Go Neurogaming 101, which will provide neuroscience-informed strategies to be able to enjoy gaming without the neurotoxic side effects. Our stress response can be triggered by relationship conflict, workplace stress, traffic, financial worries, parenting, distracted or fragmented attention, anxiety, and even something as common as running late. Neurogenesis is optimized by reducing stress. Stress is also reduced when we optimize neurogenesis due to the hippocampus's inhibitory control over our stress response system. In modern society, stress is ever present, and in some circumstances, chronic stress is inevitable. Let's look at some key approaches to assist not only in coping with chronic stress, but our best attempt to thrive even during chronic stress. In our neurotoxic, fast-paced modern society, we all experience stresses. Our perspective of stress influences the severity of impact stress has on us at a genetic level. Adaptive coping strategies result in positive emotions, providing a psychological timeout. Adaptive coping results in positive emotions, providing a psychological timeout from distress, and motivates sustained, ongoing efforts to cope. Adaptive coping strategies include having a positive attitude, seeking meaning behind circumstances, and benefit finding with benefit reminding. Adaptive coping strategies used regularly are integrated into your perspective of life, resulting in psychological thriving, even when experiencing chronic adversity. Psychological thriving can result in greater appreciation of life, self-growth, feeling empowered, reduced rumination, lower stress arousal, and greater anabolic functioning after stress. Rumination involves repetitive focus on negative thoughts, feelings, or experiences. Rumination can lead to depression and can result in higher cortisol levels after acute stress. In this module on the neuroscience of stress, we have learned how the conveniences of modern society have resulted in the inevitable neurotoxic impacts of excess residual cortisol. The good news is you are becoming consciously aware of this, and with this knowledge comes the ability to take action. Introducing the cortisol cleanse. There are many ways we can cleanse cortisol from our system. In the subsequent modules of this program, you will learn specific strategies to achieve health and well-being while cleansing cortisol. Exercise cleanses cortisol through energy exertion. Achieving sufficient sleep. Nutrients and compounds can also cleanse cortisol. Mindfulness techniques reduce cortisol levels. And lifestyle enrichment factors can also lower levels of cortisol. While natural cortisol production is metabolized by the liver by being converted into water-soluble compounds and excreted through urine, this function is not able to keep up with modern society's excess cortisol production. With this knowledge of the cortisol cleanse, your lifestyle can help mitigate excess residual cortisol. Be mindful of how neurotoxic stress is and how frequently your stress response system is activated in modern society. Practice being aware of times when your brain and body experiences stress. When you can notice the feeling, you are better able to keep your upstairs brain online and think more clearly, responding in healthier ways to any situation you face.